Previously on the Magic Bus, Destination Change, Part 1.
I am still of the belief that I have a responsibility and role to take care of everybody, including those who don't have a home.
Choosing to be homeless, it gets a little bit complicated because when someone chooses to be homeless, they're choosing a very difficult life.
Yes.
And so what we see is people that think they're making a choice, but in reality, it's really a lack of resources or a lack of hope.
I'm out of here by myself. I have to wonder when I'm getting this meal, when I'm able to bathe, when can I get behind a warm place that I can stay.
And every Christian should be doing something to show love. So that's just my way of sharing that with the homeless people, because we've got too many of them out here living on the streets. And I just want to show a little bit of love, letting my light shine.
We talked with Mayor Randall Woodfin, and it was his words on poverty and homelessness that led us to the plight of those living on the streets. Our team was so intrigued and inspired by their stories that we wanted to go a little deeper and possibly find those who had found hope and a light at the end of their dark tunnel. Initially, we met Victoria at the firehouse shelter, and she had a riveting tale.
I was in an abusive relationship and it turned really, really sour, and I ended up in prison and he ended up dead.
There were several accounts of personal tragedy that led us to each person's homelessness that touched the hearts of the Magic Bus team. But Victoria's story was the one we wanted you to hear. But because of time constraints on us and the shelter, we were forced to cut our interview short. But I wasn't finished. I knew we had only scratched the surface. There was more, so much more. Before leaving STS, which we now affectionately call Magic Bus Headquarters, on the road to meet Victoria, we were waiting to have the bus cleaned inside and out, like we always do, and to get the all clear from Jay, the senior mechanic, indicating that the bus was ready to roll. But this day was different. Cruz, our cinematographer editor, and I had the opportunity to talk with Jay, who is now my mechanic buddy. And to our amazement, Jay had a story that was also connected to the streets. Okay, so we're here with you, Jay. What we wanted to do is just find out a little bit about Jay. Who are you?
Well, Jay started out in a 3-bedroom apartment, and it's 5 kids and 2 parents. 3 brothers had to share clothes, shoes, and all of that to get to where we at now.
Now, how did you learn? I mean, you're talking about alternators and transonators and...
I've been doing this ever since I was 16.
Okay.
You know, it was a family trait that was passed down from my father. I didn't know it, you know.
Jay had a deep passion and talent for cars. As a kid, that passion got him in a lot of trouble.
Always intrigued by it as a child. I would always tear things down and try to put them back together. Got a lot of witness as a child doing it. But eventually I got it together. You know what I'm saying? And when I got it together, it was like, I didn't know exactly what I wanted to do. I had my hands in different things.
And then he lost his way chasing money. So talk about where you came from, Jay. You said you went through some things in the street.
It started out that, you know, like most people, we start listening to the streets on what the streets can bring us and what the streets can do for you. And before you knew it, sometimes you have yourself in predicaments where you have to make choices for the best of you, you know. And sometimes we as people don't look at all the options that we have. We just tap into the first one that comes along. And for me, it was harder for me to make a decision because I came from the streets. You know, I did most streets activities.
I just knew that once I had my little girl, I had to make a transition from the streets to my job.
Okay.
So once she came apart, I came here. And when I came here and applied, a lot of people say that they go through life where I won't do this and I won't do that, but that tells the difference in you when you have a mindset of you need to change.
Yeah.
Because there's two things going to happen, either jail or dead, So for my little girl, it was a change for me.
His daughter became his priority, his focus and his catalyst for change. She not only changed his life, she might have saved his life. Jay is a hard-working man who loves and takes care of his children. I was with him when he walked his daughter to school to make sure that it was safe via his phone when he took his break at work.
Just something that I like to do to make sure she's safe when I'm not around and she's walking from home to the bus stop or from the bus stop back home is a way that I'd be able to see her and also see her surroundings to make sure everything is straight with her.
So as a dad, you are determined you're going to get to work, do what you need to do at work, and then you actually take time out to walk her to school via phone and then walk her back from school via phone. Is that right?
Oh, yes.
For her safety.
If I can't be there in person, I'm going to make a way to make it happen when I'm not there.
Jay came to a fork in the road. He wanted to do better, but leaving the dark lifestyle he knew was a sacrifice.
And when I came here, it wasn't easy, don't get me wrong. I promise you it was going from making $300-400 a day to working a job where you bringing that home a week. Your mindset seems to mess with you. But by the grace of God, I stuck it out. It was cold days on the wash rack.
But it was a sacrifice Jay was willing to make. He worked hard, and it paid off. I asked him to share a few words with you.
Well, I would look at you and I would tell you, trust God. Don't give up. Anything can be possible. You can do anything as long as you got Him. Don't think that just because I'm here that it stopped for me here. No, it didn't. I went through all of that and I still end up homeless, sleeping in my truck for a couple of days, Don't never look at your situation and say that it can't get any worse or it can't get any better. Because I look at it as He have to break us down to make us strong. But when you give it up and tell God that you can't do it without Him and you need Him right there beside you doing your struggle, I promise you He'll make everything so sweet it's like it's put on a plate.
From there, we took a quick ride to Railroad Park for our segment, Shelly on the Streets, just to hear what people truly think about homelessness.
So this is Shelly on the Street, and we've picked you. Thank you for talking with us.
Of course.
Tell me what you think homelessness really is.
Yeah, I mean, obviously you always think just people without a home, but a lot of times it's even more than that. It's just anybody who doesn't have the means to live how they want to, and they're having to find other ways. They might technically be homeless without a place to live, but trying to live with a friend or live with anywhere they can find. So
Daryl, you said that you would just talk with us a little bit about homelessness. What's your definition of homelessness?
My definition is basically people, circumstances, and choices.
Okay.
Some people are homeless strictly by circumstances, and some are homeless by choice.
Okay. All right. So tell me about that. Circumstances versus choice. What's the circumstance?
Circumstance, you may have lost a job, and then you was living paycheck to paycheck anyway. Then you lost your job, and you get behind your bills. Then everything snowballed on you, and then you became homeless.
Okay. Now tell me about choice.
Well, choices some people actually have income coming in, and don't want to use the income for housing. They will use the income for other things. And some of it's a mental too. The choice part, it may not be thinking clearly, I would say.
Some of them have mental problems, and some of them just need love.
Okay. Tell me, how many paychecks do you think the average person is away from becoming homeless?
2.
Okay. How many paychecks away would you say that you're away from homelessness?
Oh dear. Obviously I'm fortunate to have a full-time job and to have a lot of those perks, but especially my situation right now where I'm a one-income family, my husband is in school right now. So, if something were to happen in my full-time job, and that gets either a pay cut by not too much, not too terribly much, but we could potentially be in a similar situation easily.
How many paychecks would you say you are away from homelessness? Or the average person?
Probably 6 months to 12 months. Probably more than that. It'll take a lot for me.
Okay.
You know?
That's a good thing. Finally, we got on the bus, making our way to Victoria's. That morning, she asked us if we would do our interview with her at her apartment, for she wasn't homeless anymore, and we happily agreed. While on the bus, my thoughts went back to the first statements Victoria made. She had been abused. What happened? And how did it lead to her being homeless? As I got off the bus, I looked at my surroundings. I wasn't sure at all what I was walking into, but knowing that she had a roof and was no longer on the streets was all I needed to know, and I was grateful. She was so excited to see me and to show me her new digs, and watching and listening to her made me excited too. She looked so different from our initial encounter. She was girly, giddy, full of energy, and happy.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Come on in.
Okay. She gave me a tour of her apartment.
All right, I'm following you.
It made me take note of how many of us take so much of what we have for granted.
All right, that's convenient.
But her humility touched me.
Okay.
I understood now that all the big stuff doesn't mean anything if you don't have peace. And Victoria had peace.
Oh, I love it. You've got lots of...
We've been talking about homelessness.
Yes.
And now we're at Victoria's home. What does that mean to you? This is a totally different thing.
When I first got it, it was like really, really overwhelming.
Okay.
I had been homeless.
Right.
And then all of a sudden, I got a key to my own apartment in less than 6 months.
Wow.
It's a bit overwhelming. I'm just now
Settling
calming
in.
down.
Okay. She went on to talk
all
about
right.
her mindset and her new place to live. And then she brought me into the darkest room, the room in her past. When we first talked to you on the first episode, on part 1, we talked with you at the firehouse shelter.
Yes.
And you told me a little bit of the history of that. Now, one thing that we did talk about is how you got incarcerated. And I want you to go back over that because there are some women, Victoria, that are going to be watching this that need to hear your story. So tell me what happened.
With my husband, everything was fine until he got addicted to smoking crack. He started beating me. He raped me. That left me physically scarred as well as emotionally, mentally scarred. He would degrade me verbally.
Her description was so detailed and inhumane that we couldn't share all of it. And I was visibly shaken when she finished her graphic account of mental, verbal, and sexual abuse.
I had left several times, and he would always find me and stalk me until I took him back. I felt I was trapped.
Now, this relationship, and again, digging a little bit deeper, this relationship, you said it ended sour. You said you ended up being in jail and he was dead.
Yes.
What happened? Was it?
He picked my 5.5-year-old up by the throat, threw him across the living room, and a gun got ended in my hand, and he was shot in the head multiple times, and I went to prison.
Okay. Defending your child.
Yes.
Okay.
And at the time, there was no self-defense law for females. None whatsoever. So, only by the grace of God did I get 35 years instead of life. I did 22 and a half years on that 35-year sentence. None of my family had any contact with me. Well, I was released from prison with nothing and nobody. I put in an application with Housing Authority. They denied me because of criminal background. I appealed the process. I won my appeal. They paid for a background check. And 5 days after they received the background check, I was viewing the apartment to see if I wanted it.
Wow. You were abused and then incarcerated because of the death and then
home-
denied,
Yeah.
homeless. So you've gone through the gambit.
Yeah.
Where are you now? And tell me, where are you going? Where are we going now?
I'm at now is striving for the future.
Okay.
Even though I am in my own place, it's not my own place because I'm renting. I don't want to rent, I want to own.
Before we left, I asked her if we could pray with her, and she responded with an absolute yes. My prayer was for her and for those watching who have encountered and endured abuse of any kind, and that our time together and what we shared would give them courage and hope.
Amen means it is so.
It is finished. It is so. You're right.
Nothing, absolutely nothing happens in God's world by mistake. It's meant for you to be in my life.
We're so glad. As we hugged, said our goodbyes, and I walked to the bus, I thought, so many people have a closed mind about homelessness, poverty, and abuse because they have a mindset that says, that could never happen to me. Throughout this whole journey, we learned that these situations don't just attack the uneducated, any one race, culture, sex, or socioeconomic status, and that these situations don't judge. So why should we? All of us are only one paycheck, one illness, one unforeseen circumstance, or bad relationship away from what we have just seen. Although my heart was still saddened by what I heard, I was encouraged because Jay and Victoria were on the road to destination change. Okay, one more thing. Don't forget, if you are interested in employment of any kind, STS might need you, whether it be a driver or something else. Contact us. And if you're interested in the Women Under Construction Network and building yourself as a woman, call us. All right, that's it. I'm back on the bus.